with. So what about the future of this type of situation? I would like to say that this will never happen again because we know what's coming. It's like on 9/11 when the attackers used blades and attacked the pilots. Well, they hardened the doors after that. But we also learned that Americans would never allow that to happen again, because even on that day, after a couple of the craft had crashed into the building and the third plane, they were getting phone calls. They knew it was happening, and the American spirit rose up and said, this is not going to happen again.
Right.
So what's the future right now looking like with the new administration coming in, promises of new leadership, promises to end this DEI culture and get it back to being a meritocracy and a fighting force only.
Right.
Is that going to happen?
Well, I think the first step is, we got a rare opportunity here. President Trump is now president again. There were a lot of people around that time frame that saw firsthand how far the government had gone afield, how deep the deep state is, and what is the deep state? We know what that is, right? And how does this all operate to the disadvantage of the American people, and frankly, threaten the Bill of Rights? That's a unique opportunity, and there are pieces everywhere. This didn't grow up in 5 minutes. Ike warned us about the military-industrial complex. He also warned us about sort of the technocrats and the think tanks, right? They have all sort of taken roost in Washington, D.C. They don't leave. I mean, when I was down in Washington, I went back to Huntsville, Alabama, and now I'm running a private sector company, right? That's not my job to be in Washington forever. I go, but my job is to be an American and build our country. These people don't leave, and they're still there.
But Milley happened under Trump. McConville, I think, if I'm correct,
they were options that were presented to him, right?
Yeah,
and
but
at the time,
McConville, I think, if I'm correct, basically said he would not obey a legal order.
Illegal.
Illegal.
But illegal's in the eye of the beholder.
That's right, but he's determining what's illegal.
That's right. And to my thinking, he meant the Insurrection Act, which is not illegal. Oh. It's a perfectly legal law. It's been used many times.
Yeah.
But he didn't like it, and he didn't like it for political reasons, right? Well, Milley, I mean, I'll be frank. One of my projects when I was running that outfit up at West Point, the Army was in a hell of a lot of trouble by 2004. This forever war we were in was grinding it into the dirt. And it was grinding it in the dirt because we were hemorrhaging our Army officers by the bushel. When I made the major, I had 10 years in the Army, and I was promoted on time, and 60% of my cohort made it. 40% didn't make it to major. By 2004, 5, 6, 7, 95% of captains are making major, and they're making it a year or two earlier. We now have a bushel of lieutenants in the Army we have no job for, just so some of them will stick around so we can have majors. We'd have, if you don't have a job as a lieutenant, you're not going anywhere. You got to have a platoon, right? And maybe two. Right. These guys are getting none, or certainly just one, and it's very short, and so their experience is getting curtailed. Captains, that's a guy who's commanding a company. Hard to get those, and you're going to take anything you can get instead of like the lead company in the battalion, right? And then major, and then it goes all the way up the food chain. Well, these generals, we finally approached the Secretary of the Army. They did nothing about it back then, that time frame, and said, Mr. Secretary, this is your Army. We swore after Vietnam we would not do 90-day wonders again. You're a civilian one day, and 90 days later you're a lieutenant. This was the Lieutenant Callies of the world, right? Right. They had not been vetted, and they hadn't been tested before we gave them authority over troops. Here we are, 40% of the Army is now officer candidate school. And of that, the majority they were civilians 90 days ago. And of the balance, they were senior sergeants, and they're not going to make it to major because they're going to retire before they get there. This is an Army in collapse. Well, okay, that's what you got at major. Out of that group, we're not bringing people in from Sears to become a major or a colonel. We're not bringing people in from American Airlines, right? And we can't do that. It's up through the ranks. This is the group you got left. In 15 years, one of these guys will be Chief of Staff in the Army, one will be Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the others will be commanding major forces, and if this is a lousy mix to begin with, it's not going to get better. And we're going to be up against China and maybe some other large countries who will come after us first, not after they whittle their way through our allies.
So Obama replaced, what, roughly 200 generals, is that right?
Right.
For political purposes, am I correct? For the most part?
I think so, yeah.
Does that have to happen in reverse now?
Well, there's clearly a set we know, and they need to go. And one of them's already back. I saw a picture of McConville over in Poland, talking to the Poles on behalf of the incoming administration. It's like, how the hell is he there?
Did Trump send him there? Or
Oh, no. I mean, the president's a busy guy. He probably couldn't even name, me or, any of these other fellas, right? But somebody in that world made that happen.
The article that actually had that photo of it was McConville and who was the other?
Mr. McCarthy.
McCarthy, that's right. So they were identified as Trump aides on that mission.
Yeah. Somebody made him a Trump aide. It wasn't Trump. This is way below his level, but they're back in the mix. And this is the deep state, the network of friends, the network of college buddies, network that was on my team at West Point, whatever it is. They come rearing back because they never leave Washington and they never really leave government. They're just waiting for their next gig.
Is the president at risk of another Milley?
Yes.
He is.
Yes.
Who needs to be running the DOD going forward?
There are some really sharp people around the president, and there are sharp people from the first administration. They have a pretty good idea of who are the people that love their country ahead of themselves, who are the people that understand the role of the military, and will do as the president lawfully orders, right? And they're not going to get in this semantics of illegal orders, right?
Right.
Those are the first choices he's making, right? Now, Kash Patel at the FBI looks like a smart choice to me. Bringing in an attorney general who's not a Washington creature looks like a really smart choice for me. I think the Texas guy and Missouri guy are great too. But bring somebody from out of town, not this bunch here, right? That's really smart. The FBI, Kash, he'll do a good job. State, good. Treasury, good, right?
Do you want your old job back?
I serve in any capacity that helps our country. I've got some expertise, but the president may have other ideas. But certainly we need good people in charge of the people program, because that's education, which is also indoctrination, right? This is the United States Army. It serves this country for these reasons. There is a Constitution. It is the group that can get rid of critical race theory and DEI, because it's in that portfolio. It's a group that decides who we're going to recruit, whether it's through ROTC, West Point, or into the ranks, right? Recruiting.
Yeah.
It's vital. And yet the people part of it is usually the last thing people get excited about. They get excited about buying weapons, policy, those things. I think the job I had was vacant for 2 years before I filled it. Well, you get there, the deep state's taking the best stuff out of your portfolio, and you don't even know it. And it takes you a while to figure it out.